Hello, hi everyone. This is Jackie Janik, women's empowerment coach, helping women uncover their purpose and define their own path in the world. And today you are watching Beyond Small Talk. Real women, real conversations, elevating womankind one talk at a time. And I'm so happy that you're here joining us every Thursday, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Instagram Live with me, Jackie Janik, and my co-host today. Her name is, she's a repeat offender. She's back from episode number 7, Health and Your Lady Parts. So this is Health and Your Lady Parts, Part 2. Her name is Betsy Cox at Betsy Cox Health. Betsy is a health coach. She's a culinary educator, wanderer, and Betsy Cox is here to help you reach optimal wellness and vitality through holistic nutrition and lifestyle strategies that are easy, effective, and fun. And last time from Health and Your Lady Parts, we received a lot of great questions as well as just concerns that women felt like, oh my God, I'm glad I hear that's typical or normal. And there is no necessarily normal in the world of Health and Your Lady Parts. So we're here with Betsy to go deeper into what we need to know as women around our health and our lady parts. So Betsy's on, so let's get her to join. And if you have any questions, you type them in. Don't be shy. There's nothing that's TMI that we haven't heard. Right, Betsy? Hey, Betsy!
Hi. I just got on, so I didn't hear what you said prior, but I could tell you were passionate about what you were saying, Jackie.
Thank you. I introduced you. I welcome to everyone that this is your repeat offender on Beyond Small Talk. We're doing part 2 of Health and Your Lady Parts because we got such a great response and that women actually felt like comfortable hearing like, oh, I'm normal, which we know there's no exact normal. But I think it was, and we both feel that this is a message that needs to get out there to women. And there's no reason to be shy about it or not to go into these types of conversation. So I was like, we're going in round 2 and let's go in deeper and get more clarity around, what women need to hear and to know and to educate ourselves about our body, our health to reach optimal health. And, it all goes back to our later part.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I'm really glad that, the people that your audience found it helpful. I'm excited to bring some new tips today and to just kind of go over some of the things that we talked about sort of a few days ago around what normal is. So we're all going to go through this, God willing, and be able to transition through this while we continue to work on our optimal health. I think some confusion comes in when we think about what's normal, what isn't normal, and what are the ranges of normal. Everyone's unique. So what I did try and bring to the foreground last 2 weeks ago was this idea that if there are aspects of your health that you feel are taking a hit, and sleep is a really big one, then whether it's normal or not, whether we all have hot flashes at night or not, you're going to want to address that. So there's normal, and there's definitely a comfort in understanding that other people are sharing an experience with you and going through this right along with you. But then it's up to you to really be able to evaluate what you feel your health and wellness can tolerate and what it can't. Some people are not going to be as bothered, or it's not going to be such a big hit to them. If they have a few sleepless nights, they can still function. I don't recommend that for anybody. I certainly don't recommend it for any of my clients. I think sleep is so important for detoxification. But, if you're bothered by a few hot flashes during the day, for example, I live in Florida, so if I'm sweating, no one's really looking at me like, hey, that's weird. It's January. It's hot down here. So I'm not going to stand out that much. I only have a few of these once in a while. So it's not really that big of a life disruptor. But so I want the ladies that are listening today to really think about, what are the symptoms that I have that are consistent with perimenopause? Now, I know that they are consistent with perimenopause, but how much are they impacting my quality of life, and how much could they potentially be triggering like a cascade of health and wellness challenges from there. So that's what you don't want to have happen.
So it
Does
sounds
that make sense?
like, yeah, so just to, recap, it sounds like taking a self-assessment. So, for
Yeah.
example, for me, I'll put myself out there. After 40, I started realizing I've always paid attention to my period. And to be completely honest out there, in my 20s, I tried not to get pregnant. In my 30s, I tried
Sure.
to get pregnant. And now in my 40s,
Right.
I'm like, whatever, how can you get pregnant in your 40s? But I know it happens.
Oh,
I
you
know
can.
it can and it will for people who want. I've just left that up there. But I noticed because I was so aware of my period and how it affected me, the time length, the heaviness, etc., that I knew in my 40s when it started to go what I call awry in a really bad direction. It's because I knew what it was and I kept track of it. So that's what I'm doing now. So I guess the first step is really being self-aware and taking a self-assessment. Like, has your cycle changed? How's your mood changed? Like, now I do get night sweats. Even with the AC on, I'm sweating. Where I'm like, yeah, that's a little weird. My cramping is extreme. My mood swings is like over the top. That's
Oh,
probably the one
Jackie,
area. Oh, they're
we
bad.
gotta
They
fix
are bad.
this.
Like, I'm on the brink with mood swings. So, but the thing is, I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm aware. I'm aware. So that's step one. So now,
Yeah,
what could
that
be?
is
What's
step
our
one.
next step? One is self-awareness. So I encourage everyone out there, start tracking yourself now. Like, monitor, right? How do I feel on
Yes.
certain days? What did I eat? Did I sleep? Is my period coming? Am I ovulating? Right? Is those the kind of things we should
Oh, yeah.
note?
Yeah, and I know that's not sexy. I know it's not interesting, but you can get so much insight. You think you're going to remember. Oh, I'll remember. I had my period on, my cousin's birthday, and then 3 months from now, first of all, short-term memory is impacted during during perimenopause. You're going to be like, wait, I forgot. So definitely track, and that'll help you kind of, yes, absolutely gain insight, raise awareness around what you're experiencing. And I think what we can talk about today,
Mhm.
really in terms of providing some relief for women, which is what they're really after. Let's talk about that. Like, you can journal until you're blue in the face, but if you don't know what to do next, then you're in a little bit of trouble. So I want to discuss with you, Jackie, my beloved dear friend,
Yeah.
the notion that you, along with most other women that are in perimenopause, are estrogen dominant at this time of life. I also want to
Ooh.
go back a little bit and share with you and any of your other listeners that are not interested in getting pregnant that in your mid to late 40s, it is a very, it's not an uncommon thing to get pregnant because the body is really like on the gas with estrogen. Our body's, this hormone balance, this soup that we have of progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen, they try and create a balance in and among themselves in this kind of insular soup dance, whatever you want to call it. But if the body is kind of sluggish on estrogen, what'll happen is it'll really pump the gas. And so in perimenopause, this is one of the reasons why women are estrogen dominant and have a lot of the symptoms that you just described. And that is because the body is pumping out estrogen like at record speed. And so it's not uncommon at all for women in their mid to late 40s to get pregnant when they just did not even think this was a possibility, and they thought that estrogen was kind of winding down. That isn't the case right now. The body
So,
goes balls to the wall, and
mm,
then really it's just kind of out of gas at the end, if we're making just sort of really big kind of sweeping strokes on this topic. But one of the things that all women, every woman that is going through perimenopause, is very likely experiencing symptoms of estrogen dominance. And
so
this is
can
a
you
reason why.
got it? Go back real quick. Like, when can people start noticing if they do get into this perimenopausal state? And I know it's not linked to an exact age, but just to recap, like, so you know that if these symptoms come up, it could be perimenopausal if you're around this time of your life, like before 40,
Yeah,
41.
I mean, so early people that are going through early perimenopause start around 35. Those are the people that, tend to get in early and get out early. And then, some people don't really notice anything. Some people
Mm-hmm.
really don't notice anything. And then other people, and those people tend to be people that wouldn't notice things anyway. So I have found that in my practice that these are the same people that may not be aware that they have rising blood sugar, that they may have arthritis, that they may have like inflammatory issues, but they're not very body aware to begin with. And this isn't a criticism. This is just a state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of times people are not necessarily bothered because they aren't very in tune with their body. That's not the case, but that can happen. So your question was, I think what you were asking was, how do I know what's normal within that? And is this just bad PMS or is this perimenopause?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it really matters because bad PMS at any age is something that is evidence of estrogen dominance. So if you have this at 25, you are estrogen dominant. It is really consistent and parallel with this time in life, which is why so many women have trouble with this time because they were okay in their 20s. They were like, I had like a bad period maybe once or twice a year. I would get grumpy, but I would have a Snickers bar and then I'd be okay, or a glass of wine or sex or, whatever. I'd be able to like treat it with some things that, are kind of within our toolbox that don't really throw you off your game, or Tylenol or Motrin, something like that. And it wasn't a life disruptor. But now that story can change. And
I don't think
what
you call it a
happens?
life disruptor. I think that's a really good indicator for someone. So that was an excellent term, life disruptor. So now, like with some of my mood swings, I feel like it can be a life disruptor. Like I'm also aware of it, so I make sure I don't talk to certain people. I hide out in an office. Now my husband is like, I'm gonna track it this time because like it's like things will just set me off, but that's not who I really am. But just during that time I just know. And besides the point is that physically it's like over the top on the quantity of the masses of like that come out is TMI to a lot of
Yeah.
people. If you experience this and for your first time, all of a sudden having to change tampons every hour, you're like, am I dying? Like, what is going on with my body? Especially for someone like me who 2030s was a breeze. Like my period was
Yeah.
like no problem. And then all of a sudden in
Yeah.
my 40s, it's like, I called it homicide, where I'm like, holy cow, what is going on? And also just a
Yeah.
side note, do not buy cheap tampons because like, it's not worth it. Anyway, that's just a side note. Splurge on your tampons, like get good ones. Okay.
I like that. Splurge on your tampons. That's good, Jackie. I'm going to take that. Well, yeah. So I think going back to how much is your life disrupted? Do you need to know you're in perimenopause? You are. Do you need to know you're alive and breathing and blinking and no. We trust this information, so trust this. And then in terms of really looking at how you're going to manage well during this time and really continue the goal of reaching your optimal health at any age through anything like this type of phase, like you are always, we're always thinking about optimal health during pregnancy, right? You want to be, if you're healthy, baby's healthy, you want to have a healthy delivery, you want to be healthy afterward. But we're not taught that we must safeguard our health at this time and how challenging it can be for women because we feel like, hey, we already did that main thing, which is bring another human being into the world and, keep ourselves going through infancy and sleep deprivation and everything. But this time it can be really, really difficult and challenging, and we're not really geared up to number one, acknowledge it. Number two, know what the hell's going on. Number three, figure out how to get support around this time. And so I'm really grateful that you're bringing this conversation to the fore. Today's kind of focus is about estrogen dominance and recognizing that it's happening. One of the physiological and chemical reasons why is because long before our bodies stop making estrogen, we stop making progesterone. And so if you think that that every hormone has to stay in balance with all the other hormones, it's really like a tightrope. Not to freak anybody out, but there's a lot of delicate balance to the equation. So if we're low in progesterone, there's an imbalance in progesterone and estrogen and testosterone. And that's why, even if it's just as simple as that, which it rarely is, that's why you will be experiencing estrogen dominance. But a lot of times what happens is because of that, like first, bailout on progesterone, cortisol levels rise and melatonin levels reduce and insulin resistance starts to become a problem. That's why a lot of people develop metabolic syndrome, pre-diabetes at this time. It can really create a lot of havoc. So rather than just get freaked out about everything that I just said, I want to give your audience some ideas around estrogen detoxification and clearance. Okay? Mm-hmm. Okay. So water, stay hydrated. Plain water, plain. Don't have to come off of those drops or Splenda. I had a client that detoxed off of Sweet and Low, and I've never seen anything like it. I've never worked with crackheads or heroin addicts or people with, I'm not being insensitive, but I have not, worked with people with heavy drug addictions, but she had all the symptoms of like itchy skin and it was crazy. So plain water, I know I just went off on a little riff there, but plain water, plenty of sleep, and then the real benefits of estrogen detoxing come in the form of looking and assessing your cosmetic case, your personal hygiene products right now, and not bringing any undue xenoestrogen into your life, onto your skin, into the biggest...
Bring xenoestrogen. So you're saying xenoestrogen, first of all, you could tell me what that is. And second, that could be in my makeup?
That is in your makeup, generally speaking, unless you're using really clean products. So this is a good time to start to transition out of big brand name cosmetics and start a little bit with more, with cleaner products. You can just start with your household products, right? If you want to switch from Lysol, for example, which has very high xenoestrogen properties, and work with just some essential oils or some GreenWise products, or that's a brand name down here, but Seventh Generation, that's a great place to start, is just working with a company like the Honest Company, or find some products that you like so that you can reduce your environmental estrogen exposure. So for those of you who know, xenoestrogens they mimic biological estrogen. They don't show up on lab work. So you can test for estrogen levels and they can look really in line. But if you've been exposed or you have a lot of xenoestrogen exposure in your life, you will be experiencing estrogen dominance and all the things that you just described, and you won't be able to clear it. So that's where lab testing, it's great, but it doesn't always tell the whole story. So clean up your household products. If you're not ready to kind of make some changes in your personal products, start there. And that should help quite a bit. One of the highest xenoestrogenic, stumbling over this word, products that we typically use is in fabric softeners. So those that you put in your dryer and fabric softeners, yeah.
Okay, so dehydration, sleep, and clear with say it again, the xenoestrogen.
Yeah, it's with an X. Okay. Yeah.
And then Zeno.
Xenoestrogens. Xeno, it's pronounced xenoestrogens. So they're in your food supply, they're in, non-organic foods, they're in to some degree organic foods. They're everywhere. We have a higher exposure to them now than ever before. And as we age and go through perimenopause, our bodies become more burdened with estrogen from inside and outside. We're having trouble detoxifying because we're overloaded. One of the best ways through diet and nutrition to help with estrogen clearance is through fiber-rich foods. And, those come in all different shapes and sizes. And if you can get around 35 grams of fiber in your diet every day through whole fiber foods, not supplements, that should help you quite a bit. And that's going to help skin quality. That's going to help shake out some of that anxiety and some of that, the days of rage. It'll help with breast tenderness. It should help over time. It's not a miracle in the first month, but you will see that it does help. The other thing with bringing in fiber into your diet is not to do that too quickly, because you will want my home address and you will meet me at my door like, what are you telling me to do? So go slowly. Just again, if you're going to start kind of journaling and doing some raised awareness around your health and wellness at this time, find a tracker or use a guide, something. There's so many tools online, and use some kind of nutritional guide where you can take an assessment of how much dietary fiber you're getting in for a week.
Does magnesium count? Does magnesium count as a dietary fiber? Because we talked about magnesium last time. If you take too much, you have no, magnesium's not a fiber.
No, magnesium is a mineral. And it's essential in the nervous system, brain health, heart health. It's really, a major player in metabolic stabilization. So fiber, it's under the heading of carbohydrates with our macronutrition labels that we have here and that we use with the USDA food pyramid. And they are fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, pulses, nuts, and seeds. Okay, so it's plant-based. You're not going to find fiber in a steak. You won't find it in a really lean piece of chicken. You won't find it in a piece of shrimp or a block of cheese. It's not going to be there. There's a little bit of fiber in dairy, but not enough, not enough to make the difference. So this is really where you want to start to look at, what kind of plant foods am I getting in my diet? If you're trying to lose weight or maintain weight balance, which is another, weight gain is another big part of this experience.
I have that one too. Yeah, I have
that experience. So that, when you're looking at fiber, if you're trying to either lose weight or maintain your weight, you're probably not going to look at nuts and seeds as your primary source for fiber because they're so high. They're very healthy food, but they're very high in fat, they're high in calorie. So you would look more at lower calorie options like vegetables, So what you would want to do, the way I take my clients through this, is I have them identify how much fiber they're getting, and they do a week, and they just mark their fiber and chart it. And from there, they take an average, and usually that average is somewhere between, the US average is 16 grams, and that's for men, women, young, old, black, white, gay, straight, rich, poor, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, 16 grams. Women that are able to successfully clear estrogen and reduce PMS symptoms, reduce risk of breast cancer, hormone-mediated cancer, they're between 35 grams and 70 grams in some countries. But I have found that 35 grams without any pre-existing issues around breast cancer, for example. I work differently with clients that have had cancer or that are higher risk of cancer. But if, we're just talking about the average Jane, for example, even though there are no average Janes, but if you don't have a genetic or a predisposed history of breast cancer or risk of, 35 grams should really do you. and you want to go slowly. So you would increase your, let's say you start out at 20 grams of fiber, which is great. That's good. And then you would increase by 5 grams every 4 days. So for example, there's, I think, 6 grams of fiber in one medium apple. Okay. So all you have to do is just add an apple to your diet. You don't have to take anything out. You can just add it. And the beauty of fiber is that when you start to get in that range, it's very easy to start to take things out of your diet that don't really serve you. And you know it, alcohol, caffeine, processed food. So when you start to bring in the healthy things and you're feeling more sated and you're eliminating better and your hormones are able to balance because you're clearing estrogen more effectively and efficiently and frequently, you're not going to have those crazy carb cravings for spaghetti, for, Frito-Lay, my former boyfriend.
So, to sum it up for everyone, are those the top tips, or would you like to add? We have time for one more. So you have water, stay super hydrated. We have sleep. We have, our diet and making sure with the fiber. We have eliminating in our environments. I can start with the environment, the xenoestrogen, which sounds pretty important for us. Sorry, my daughter's here. I think that's like a nice call for women who I had no idea to start looking through our products and being like, what outside environmental things that we can really start changing that will show impact in the long run. And then the fiber-rich diet. Is there anything else, or is that, because we do have one?
I think that about covers it.
I think that's like a good task list so far, and we started out with self-assessment. So we have a question from Allie. She wants to know, is it normal that the first day of your last period is less than 25 days? So I'm assuming she's saying between periods to being less than 25 days. Because usually, they told you, 28 days. That's what I've heard my whole life. Is there
So that's a great question. And thank you for asking. What is considered within the parameters and the ranges of normal are 24 to 32 days, with the average being 28. If this is starting to change for you, if you were a 28-day cycle girl and all of a sudden you're a 24 cycle girl, that's a different story. Try this, then this is definitely a change in ovulatory process, and estrogen dominance is likely responsible for that. So try these things. I would definitely start with fiber. I mean, the xenoestrogen call to action, that is ongoing. It's a tall order. A lot of times people have never even heard that there are chemical estrogens that mimic in our body biological estrogen. So this is the first time for a lot of people hearing this. And
first time, and I've talked to you a lot, and this is the first time.
You get more freaked out, and you're like, oh God,
I mean, it's good to know if it's like a simple little change in a lifestyle that will, in the long run, make me not be on the brink of wanting, to kill people when I'm almost getting my period. Then I'll be like, hey, I want to help out the world. I'm a me person. I'm not a me person. So I want to do this for society's sake. And then,
well, just start with one. I would suggest starting. If there's a product in your house that is just really, kind of on the brink of being toxic for your kids, for your pets, for your bird in particular. If you can't use it for your bird, don't use it for yourself. That's my opinion. So start with that. Start small on that. Assess your fiber first. Figure out how much you're getting, and then the goal is to go to 35. So take a couple weeks going with 5 more grams. Take another couple weeks going a few extra grams. Don't go too quickly with that, because you'll just have a lot of cramps and you'll be constipated and you won't feel good. So go slow. It's slow and steady.
Got it. So then ultimately for example, with me, how I'm estrogen overload is what I'm calling it. I'm high estrogen. Then it will start balancing out between, ultimately that's the goal, the estrogen, progesterone, and
testosterone.
Right. So those three. So adding this in will start to decrease
Adding it in
inflammation.
will help normalize some of your, that's not the right word. It will help enhance the production of progesterone because there's a lot of progesterone producing foods that are high fiber foods. But think about, what fiber does is it cleans out the gut, it cleans out the system, it helps restore healthy gut bacteria. 80% of our immune system is located in the gut. And guess what? So are all those microbes, all those toxins like estrogen that just get stuck there and then will start to hang out and metabolize in fat tissue in the breast and collect in the buttocks and the thighs and the gut. Yeah, so just it's going to help your whole body just detox and clean itself out and stabilize.
Great.
I hope that was clear.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to start this, and I encourage everyone who's listening to pick fiber and give it a shot and, do your self-assessment and come back to us in a month and let us know how it's going, because Betsy and I, we're going to continue to do this. I feel like health, and especially around this topic for women, is incredibly important to have this type of conversation and bring it to the forefront. And I'm more than happy to share my own personal experiences. I'm not shy about it. And just talking about it, look at all the free help that she gives out and she just gave me. So I will start with my fiber and looking into some of my products. I'm just really curious about that because that was something I had no idea. So thank you. Everyone, please go follow Betsy Cox Health at Betsy Cox Health. Allie, you're welcome. Anytime you need some, Allie and I have some period stories of our own. I just put it out there again, Allie. Allie was on episode number 1 of Beyond Small Talk, and we shared our period story. So if you're curious, go back and watch. It was kind of hysterical. But Betsy and I will continue to do this and share these tips and tools for everyone around women's health. Thank you so much, Betsy. Thank you,
You're welcome, Jackie. If anybody has any questions, just DM, just reach out and I'd be happy to answer them. Take the week to figure out how much your fiber features in your diet, and variety is key. Don't just stick with one. Don't get a supplement. Get it through your food, and that's how you'll get the most benefit. So any questions, just let me know. Thank you for having me.
Questions here. Follow at Betsy Cox Health and DM her with anything that you have. She's a wealth of information. Thank you so much, Betsy. See you all soon, ladies. Next week, Beyond Small Talk, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bye.
Bye, Jackie. Bye, everybody.